It's hard for a group of people, for a race of people to be strong if there's that absent father in the majority of the homes. My name is Maxine. I am 55 years old, and I am not a daddy's girl. Well, when I was little, I think I was a daddy's girl, but he was abusive, very controlling, just not a good person. So I don't think a person who's not good can be a good father.
My name is Brittany. I'm 26, and I wouldn't consider myself a daddy girl now. Well, my father passed when I was 10. When I was, I guess at that age I was, but now no, for obvious reasons. He had cancer, and so I remember visiting him in the hospital and trying to say hi to him, and he didn't want to look at me. And as a kid, you're like, why doesn't he want to look at me? Like, what's going on? But as I got older, I realized it's because he knew that his younger daughter wasn't going to have him. And I feel like that was one of the deepest lessons I've learned, that it wasn't just selfish. I didn't just lose my dad. Like, he lost all that stuff with me too. So, big.
My name is Alexis Hall. I am 26, and I do not consider myself a daddy's girl. I've tried to reach out to my dad many times, but I honestly haven't talked to him in 11 years. At a younger age, I kind of just felt like, why doesn't my dad love me type of thing, you know? Why aren't you there? Like, I'm your little girl, you know? I think I definitely felt abandoned, or I felt left behind. I felt like he even kind of had favoritism towards some of my other siblings. We have different moms, but I never understood why he never pursued a relationship with me. So.
My name is Antea. I am 22, and I do not consider myself a daddy's girl. I saw him maybe twice a year for most of my life, up until I was about a teenager. And that's really when I started to develop a relationship with him. But I'm still just used to him not being around and not really having a deep relationship with him. Like every 6 months or so, I think I would see him or talk to him on the phone. But there was a time I wasn't getting any phone calls. I was just getting letters. And I don't think I questioned it really. I know I didn't really understand why he was sending letters until I was older and learned that he was actually in jail. To this day, I don't know why he was in jail, but he would send me letters pretty consistently. And I always felt like my dad was a lot better on paper than he was verbally.
Often referred to as the new Jim Crow, this mass incarceration where a percentage of black people in America, there should not be so many black people in prisons, but there are a lot of black men in particular in prison. And if they're in prison, then they're not in the home with their children, with their families. This 3 strikes you're out deal that I think President Clinton enacted, where black men were being sent to prison for minor offenses. If you got caught smoking weed 3 times, then you were sent to prison. that took a lot of men out of the homes. And then still, you're separating the fathers and the mothers, just like in slavery days. I have some books on slavery and Black history, and one particular article out of a book called How to Make a Slave. And part of that was to alienate the father from the mother and to separate them. So there's a long history of households without men in them. And I think even to this day, there's a lot of households without men in them because of the way the system is set up. I can't imagine how difficult it is to be a Black man in America. Because from the start, you have all these things going against you. And on top of that, if you have a family, that's a lot of things to deal with.
Some African American TV shows that I grew up watching that definitely influenced my mindset were like The Cosby Show. I think I love that one. I think it gave me a mindset that a Black couple could be prestigious and have multiple kids from the same two parents. I think that was a big one. And also, you watch them raise their kids from little to older. So you can see them go off to college, have those awkward talks about puberty or boys. I think that definitely helped me see that there is a possibility for the dad to have an influence in that, as well as the mom. I can dream for the perfect dad as my future husband. You know, he could be the perfect dad or the perfect husband. I hope he spends time with the kids and wants to tuck them in. But my insecurity, I feel like that's a dream, and that a lot of men don't want to be that kind of father. And so I can definitely struggle with the mistrust that exists.
I did like these shows, even though I knew they weren't necessarily real, that they weren't necessarily realistic most of the time. It allowed me to just dream for better. It allowed me to have a goal for my own future kids, to have a more close-knit, complete family. Something that I definitely didn't have. And even, I'm not even sure I want kids, but I know if I had a kid, I would want a girl. And if I had a girl, I have to have that husband who's going to be there for her. She has to have what I didn't have. Because I know from experience how incomplete a girl can feel not having her dad be a consistent presence in her life.
You know, because I feel like it's a cycle. My mom's dad, her real dad, the man that I call my papa is actually my mom's stepdad, but I could go on and on about that. She grew up without her dad, and I grew up without my dad. So one thing she's always tried to instill in me about my dad is that, you know, hurt people type of thing. My dad didn't have his dad either. His dad passed away like some years ago, and he didn't even go to the funeral because they didn't have a relationship. But I'm really grateful for my mom trying to help me at a very young age to be forgiving and to not allow someone else to dictate my future or even my present.